Welcome back, everybody, to the Rough Cut Club. I'm Shane Wrightshammer, the co-host, along with our wonderful host, Joey Nakotra, as we unpack all things in filmmaking in the art and business for freelancers and beginners. And today, we've got a very special episode with our pal, Willie Mellina.
Willie Mellina, he is an actor extraordinaire. He also was the lead on my first debut DP feature film project. And it was really awesome to talk with him on just some of the, one, his story is awesome, but two, the dynamics between how an actor can basically better work, having good communication with a director, having good communication with the DP, and understanding the dynamics there. And it was just a really, a lot of times on the show we have creatives that are on the tech side of things, but it was really refreshing to get to talk to an actor and really just dive into prioritizing the performance. It was something that's been, good for me to dive into lately on the personal side, but also to hear feedback from him and just chop up that conversation.
I couldn't agree with you more. And the way this man's brain works is really interesting. So strap in and let's get started.
Man, I'm excited for today's guest. Today's guest is an actor. He's also a stud off camera, just like he is on camera. He's been killing the acting game for a minute now. And, some days you're going to catch him on the basketball courts hooping it up. Other days he's leading the American Revolution. You never know where you're going to catch him. And so today's guest is the lead actor from my debut DP'd feature film, Washington's Armor. He is a good friend, and we still get to work together on multiple projects now. Super happy to welcome and introduce our newest Rough Cut Club VIP member, Mr. Willie Mellina. Willie, welcome to the show, bro.
Man, it feels good. It feels good. Come on, somebody.
Man, Willie is he is just a absolute character, but everyone that meets this cat just he just brings a light to any set that he walks on. And so Shane and I were talking, and we were like, man, we got to get this dude on the pod and just talk acting too, and just like the relationship with a DP and a director and an actor, and just dive into that world of, so often in this podcast, we think from the technical side of things about how we can direct better, produce better, make, light our scenes better. But the actors' performances and the stuff that we work on is really, really critical and valuable. And we want to, dive into that world. So Willie, welcome. We're excited to just jump into your world and hear how you do things, man.
Wonderful, man. I'm grateful to be here. Appreciate y'all. It's fun to talk with some brothers. Fun to talk about this craft. I'm passionate about it. I think it's funny how we all come from different, areas. Some of us needed a gig, right? Some of us went to a wedding and saw somebody with a camera. Some of us went to a play because we had to for school. That's actually my experience. I was in high school, and we got extra credit if we went to go see a Shakespeare, this play, any play, but it happened to be that one's the one coming up, and it was fresh. So I went to go see it. Much Ado About Nothing, and I started feeling kind of funky, and those cold sweats started hitting, and then I go there with my friend Clayton Bynum and Taylor Gross, shout out Waco, Texas, and I went, and their mother. And I'm telling you, about 15, 20 minutes in, I started to feel ill. And about an hour in, they just finished intermission or was about to be intermission. I literally, like a little child, pulled my knees up on the seat and wrapped my legs in my T-shirt, which I know you guys still do. I can't remember if I think I made it all the way through, or she took me home early. I cannot remember, but I was legitimately ill, got home, had like a 103, 104 fever. But there was a couple things that I picked up, and that kind of connected to my senior year watching Fiddler on the Roof. And senior year in high school, Coach Judd's class, and Mark Capabla was the lead. He played Tevye and Fiddler on the Roof. I went and saw it, and whenever we got back that next Monday or whatever it was, Coach Judd called me out in the middle of class because I was the class clown of my high school, big high school in Waco, Midway High School. And he said, well, Willie, what'd you think? And I'm like, why'd this dude just call me out, I said, I don't know. He's like, that won't do it. What'd you think? And I said, it looked real fun and it looked really easy. And if you've never seen Fiddler on the Roof, I highly recommend any filmmaker, any actor, watch everything, watch what you can. Any chance you get an opportunity, if you got some time, watch it. But Fiddler on the Roof, the film, is phenomenal. Won a bunch of academies. And Tevye, if I were a rich man, and yeah, so I told Coach Judd, I said, it looked real fun. It looked real easy. And everybody in class was like, oh, and Mark said, you think it looked real easy, huh? I said, yeah, I think I could have come for a couple of days of rehearsal and then crushed that thing. I ended up doing that show. That was the last professional job that I ended up doing. Fast forward, that was the last professional job that I did when I was probably 27. Did that job, and I was Pinocchio during the day for the kids show, and I was one of the dance leads at Little Theater on the Square, south of Chicago, and ended up getting fired. And we can get into that later, but colorful testimony for this old boy, and my spiritual character defects came to bear in that one, like they did a lot of times during that season of life. And but that's funny because that was kind of the show where I said, man, that looks. I mean, when your skin gets kind of hot when you see somebody doing. I'm sure Joey, when you watch people skateboard, or Shane, when you see somebody doing something that you're like, whoa, man, this looks like something I'd want to do. And that was the feeling I had. And then now out loud for the first time in my life, thinking about that was actually the last show I did before I stopped doing performance. And so that was kind of my intro to it. And then I obviously gave a sneak peek of, the end of that season before TV and film, which is now 5 years and a couple of months I've been doing the TV and film thing.
Dude, what a journey. And I love that acting just made you sick, bro. Like your intro into acting and film, you're literally like, yeah, this is nauseating. That's awesome. I will say though, what you told your coach, like, oh, I probably just need 2 days of rehearsal and I can do it. I got to brag on Willie for a second. So we worked together on Washington's Armor and, some other little projects, but I have hired Willie twice to act in some commercial work that we've done. And there was this one called, it was a oneer, and it was a 6-minute oneer. And, this guy's got to nail a 6-minute script. We get probably 8 or 9 shots, attempts at it. And as a director, and we're finishing the script probably like 2 weeks before the shoot date. Maybe, I think we're still making changes. We got Willie attached, it was a low rate nonprofit thing, and he graced us with his presence. He's amazing, and he came onto this show or this nonprofit promo, and I'm just like, dude, I hope this guy can learn all these lines. I know he's good, but dude, he shows up. And he's like in constant rehearse mode in his head, but he's also just a very fun, personable person. So we're kicking and having a great time. But then he pushed me as a director. We went out on the little courtyard, and we when they were setting lights and stuff, and we rehearsed, and just watching your process, man. I think you literally just needed like 6 to 10 hours, and you can nail a 6-minute, oneer script. Anyways, hats off to you, bro. I hold you in the highest regards, and not only in your execution, but your art form. And so, of course, I'm always hollering at Willie when I got a script idea for commercials. Man, I'm working on a couple of pitches right now, and your name might be slipping in there. So, anyways, I love those two things. He gets sick and nauseous when he watches somebody else do it, and he only needs 2 days, and then he's ready to go.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That was a special day, and I love that little courtyard. That's one of my favorite things when you get on set is to find those spaces where there's some sunshine, to find those spaces where there's flowers, where there's birds chirping, when there's life happening. And I remember that area, if you take a couple blocks one way, you're in a rougher area. You take a couple blocks the other way, and there's microbreweries. But just to feel the energy, and there's every set. Sometimes it's trickier than others, but you can find those places on set. And that's one piece of advice I'm sure I'm going to give many on this thing. For a poor boy like me, I'm nobody. I don't go some random place in this country and people know who I am. But I have gotten to have enough opportunities to where there's times like that. And one of my biggest pieces of advice is when you do get on set, it can be nerve wracking. Sometimes people are not prepared. Sometimes things happen. Hey, we got to move all of our cars, and you're just about to get in the flow. And finding those places, whether it's interior or exterior, where you can just and spend some time with the script, spend some time with your fellow actors, find your director and say, man, can I steal you for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, anything I can. I just think that is invaluable, whether it's a commercial, whether it's, like Woven Healthcare, which that was unreal. And shout out to Woven, man. If all of the information that we, shared in that piece, I thought, I want to give Woven a call,
Yeah.
And it's really fun when you can do something, that's, you're actually thinking, this is neat, because a lot of times in Jesus' name, we're doing stuff where we're thinking, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
But sometimes it's to meet Frank, it's to meet Blake, it's to meet Sarah. Sometimes it's to meet that person who's actually a line producer, 80% of the time. Sometimes it's to fall on your face and completely blow it because, man, it's hard to put a price on being humbled. It's hard to put a price on failing. And I failed so much. So some of those times in my life and in my career and in my life and in relationship and being a father, got 5 kids, I lose every single day. And, for the meek shall inherit the earth. It stinks in the moment, but man, losing, it just does something to your spirit, to your heart, if you don't allow it to decimate you and destroy you.
Yeah. I'm a strong believer in it's not what you do, but it's how you do it. And so process is everything. And if you're not willing to make mistakes and put yourself out there, then you're not going to learn and grow. You know what I mean? And so I can only speak from a director standpoint and filmmaker standpoint. For me, I feel like acting is so vulnerable. Like it took me a long time to even do this podcast with Joey. I don't like being on camera. I like being behind the camera and helping someone understand the story and the motive and the scene. And so for you, Willie, what's your process like if you can unpack it for maybe a newer actor or even any actor, because I'm sure everybody's process is different. But for you, when you prepare for a role, say like that Woven project that we did, or maybe focus on something like Washington's Armor, what's kind of your actor's process to understand your character and execute a director's vision, the story's vision, and bring your own flavor to it?
Well, so Washington's Armor was the very first self-tape audition that I ever did. It was the very first narrative TV film. At that point, it was going to be a pilot, right? And then we pivoted and turned it into a feature. So that was my first project. So immediately what I did was I just drew from my training as a stage actor, which I started dancing, singing, and acting when I was 20. And my mentor was Jerry McLaughlin. And, he trained me. He said, you're going to do ballet before you do tap and jazz and hip hop. You're going to study Shakespeare before you do Tennessee Williams and Neil Simon. And you're going to sing Italian before you sing Lerner, Lowe, Rodgers and Hammerstein, chorus line, modern musical theater. So he said, we're going to track this way, right? I'm going to classically train you. And man, when you do that, it's like you stepping in front of this for this podcast. You had to really be vulnerable, and you had to say, okay, I have no idea I don't do this. And in doing that, just starting right there, you have an opportunity there's so much space to say, okay, I don't know. You remain teachable. And I think that's what, first and foremost, remaining teachable. But for that project in specific, Washington's Armor, I had to start. So I drew from my knowledge of classically training. This is a guy who's 3 generations removed from Britain, from London, from England. I just said 3 different places that are all similar. Come on, somebody. From Britain, from London, from England, from the UK, from Westchester.
Wait, those aren't all the same place?
So I had to. So first and foremost, my school of thought, my mentor taught me: when in doubt, simplify. Keep it simple. I don't need to sit here and try to get out the slingshot, when it's like, there's a rock right here, let me just pick it up and throw it and try to hit the target. And if I can figure that out, I can figure out the weight of the rock and so forth. So I tried to keep it as simple as possible. And then I wanted to do some research, something that I could draw from. And for George Washington, he loved dance. He studied dance. It was one of those things that they did in their household, and from an early age. So I thought, oh, wait, dancer. So I immediately thought, well, if he was a dancer and he knew how to dance, he had like a cage, right? His cage is referred to as this whole area, right? The chest area, that's your cage. And I thought, so he probably had really good posture. So I started from there. And then I looked at, okay, do I want to speak with his proper British accent? Received, which was actually not, 1,000 years ago, folks in that area, they didn't speak like that. It actually was a taught dialect. Don't quote me, but 200, 300, 400 years ago, when they started is received, as then like it wasn't already there. It was a received. That's what they call received British dialect. So I know I didn't want to go with received proper British dialect. Also, he was 3 generations removed. And from the age of about 16, he started to survey land. So he's probably interacting with all kinds of folks. And if you think about yourself, you might have been born, let's just say you were born in Massachusetts, but then from the age of 4 on, you were born and raised in Texas. Folks that we know, and we've all made friends with folks like this, they might have been born in Massachusetts, Boston, right? I got that Boston, I swear to God, if you don't get off my front porch, you know what I mean? But they don't have that dialect. Why? Because when they were 4, they were moved to Texas. So they went and hung out with Joey and Shane and North Dallas or wherever.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, y'all. Y'all better get off my front porch now. So I took my training, keep it simple, right? And then I started to adopt, okay, dancer, cage. Okay, he wasn't born and raised in Britain. He didn't have a classical education, so he probably didn't have that received British, but his family did. And then from the age of 16, he probably started trading with French and Native Americans. So I wanted to keep that. He probably tried to force, to sound like his family and sound educated, but at the same time, he had to engage and interact with folks from all different walks of life, all different tongues. And so I just found a simple middle ground that a guy that, had some education, but it was primarily in mathematics and surveying. So first things first, keeping it simple. And next, I went in to try to research. I tried to do as much as I could. I didn't want to get lost in the weeds because I had a very short period of time. This wasn't some 6 months of prep. Had it been, would I have done it differently? Maybe. I probably would have taken the same work, but I just would have stretched it out. I would have slowed everything down. I didn't really have time to do that. I had to start focusing on getting on a horse, which I did. And everything that I did, whether it was getting on a horse or practicing the way that he stood, the way that he sat down, mannerisms, it always started to just add like a touch. It's like adding a little bit of a seasoning to a meal, and sometimes it alters it slightly. And sometimes it's like, oh shoot, I kind of need to rethink everything else, and I think the biggest thing is you can do all that stuff, but then once you get on set and you start to meet your other actors that you're going to be hanging out with sometimes 2 days, sometimes 2 months, it's a give and take. And I don't think it so much changes the choices that I've made with who this guy is and how am I similar to him and what is far away, what is way over there and what is already inside of me, but it can affect the rhythm. It can affect my rhythm. It can sometimes have an effect. And with someone like Christopher Guest, again, he spent so much time with him on that first journey that he's going to change the way that I am. He's going to change the way that I sometimes think about things, because I've thought about things in my own little world where here's this guy who's over twice my age that has been getting along just fine. So that's a special project because there's so much. This is not like something modern day, there's some differences. There's a lot more there. And it's unlike anything that I've done since. There's been some things that are similar, but it's a I don't want to say a monster, but it's a big boy compared to some projects where it's like, oh shoot, I'm just going to play my friend Mason Coker here. You know, maybe he's got a little bit of a lisp. He played tennis all of his life. He got bullied, and I just take that and I run with it. Whereas this guy, there's a lot going on, and he was, some say, most say, the father of our country. So I didn't want to try to screw it up.
I was about to ask you that, like
Yeah.
the pressure of playing George Washington, did that ever weigh on you in your decisions and how you portrayed him? Like, how does that affect an actor when you're trying to? And by the way, I love your beautiful mind. That's why I love actors and working with actors that take a character and then start running. And Willie has done this. We're in a forever pre-pro on a short film that we are going to shoot together, Willie, at some point. The Pack of Animals, but man, just listen to these actors and they dive in and create these sub stories. And like, I did this research, and with this, it's a historical person, but with a fictional character. Like, I remember this character that we had written into this short film. Willie came up with a whole backstory for this character. He's like, well, he probably did this, and so like, and that's why he talks
to
like
pull from when they're like,
and the process
is character. Yeah,
it's so beautiful. So I love that process. But on top of process, what is the weight like? Does that come into effect? Like, knowing that it's George Washington, you're trying to portray something as historically accurate as you can, but also bring entertainment value. So does that cause any difference in approach that you would do for your acting process?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because we have quite a bit of information comparative to someone that might be further back, right? Like, yeah, Jesus, we have the Bible, but it doesn't say like, oh, and then Jesus cracked a joke and then so and so, right? He answered a question with a question. So right. It's like so challenging. And then it's been done so much. Certain characters have been played so much. I mean, goodness gracious, I think I can only count on maybe one hand how many times George Washington has been put up. I remember the Paul Giamatti, the John Adams. Goodness, I'm trying to think of what else, but right now I'm drawing a blank. But so we have a lot of information about him. I had his journals. I had documentaries. And on the flip side, there's very few portrayals that and also I don't know that I would want to draw from, but I'm not one of those actors that's like, oh, I don't want to see what anybody else has done. No, if there's someone that's strong that has done it, I would love to see it. And there's things that I might want to steal. And then there's things I might want to say, oh, I want to stay away from that. As far as the pressure, yes, went in with some pressure. So, and that was the reason that I said, you know what, I don't have a lot of time, but with this amount of time that I have, I want to spend this much looking at, I don't know if you can see my hands. I want to spend a lot of it researching and looking. And if I draw something, if it's, posture, insecure about his anger. He struggles with his anger. I struggle with my anger. So I was able to draw something there, and that's something. And I use those things. So I try to take that pressure and turn it into work, turn it into preparation, turn it into focusing and simplifying. I've got all this stuff here, my bag of tools, my bag of tricks. I want to try to channel it so I can draw out three to five things that really I can work with. And I'm like, oh, I can taste that. And then I use that. And then once we got on set, meeting you two, meeting, everybody that was there, it's like, oh, wait, this is a good group of people wanting to tell a story that's worth telling. And there's a lot of love. There was a lot of grace. There was some really great leadership. And so a lot of that was quickly melted, and that icy pressure was melted pretty quickly. And then we bring it back. There's moments where it's like, I try to, they're at the very, very end. We're doing that scene that we kind of added. We knew we wanted to kind of do it, but we started to add elements to it. Like, well, they need to have a conversation. And so what it was improv, and it had to be the coldest day. And it was towards the very end, and the sun had gone down. And so they had been spending several hours building. I don't know if y'all remember that fire scene with Christopher Gist and I.
Up in New York, right? with the snow, and you guys
Yeah.
basically got frostbite on
Yeah.
your toes and hands. I feel like, yeah, it was so tough.
Negative like 12 degrees for
Yeah, it
Oh,
was
days.
man.
Yeah.
wind whipping through.
Blizzard.
That was the coldest. We were close. We were close enough to the river where the wind was coming off of it, and that was the first time we really shot where the sun was completely down, and it just started to bite. And for the first time officially, there were some other moments where there was space for improv, where they said, "Hey, let's just play. Let's just keep this rolling," and we did, and it had some great moments. And I think because of that, Tammy said, "Well, let's just do that and let y'all play again with this," where there's nothing. There's nothing there. There is no starting point. And when you're improving on a period piece with a dialect, however so slight, but it's one thing for me to improv with a modern dialect with a fun character or a dark character, or I can just go and attack it, and then there's another where I've created this character based off of the information I've told you about, the research and everything else, and it's a period piece. And then trying to think, oh, what would he do here? What would he do there? What would a 22-year-old George Washington do in this moment? That was tough. But then we ended up actually putting that into the feature, which I thought it worked. It was just, you just need a beat, but as actors, we add all this, and our character defects, not our acting character defects, our character defects can sometimes be our worst enemy in those moments.
I want to keep on this journey, and I feel like we've talked about how weather can affect things, how time can affect things, how your preparation, your process, right? So now you do all this prep, things happen, time delays for directors like myself who, I feel like I'll always be up and coming and never arriving, and that's okay. I always want to learn. What are some things that you can give us that helps understand what you need as an actor to be able to do your process correctly in pre and even on set? Like what benefits you as an actor from a director's perspective?
So, for instance, Washington's Armor, Tammy was, this was her first major narrative deal. And I think one thing that she did really well was, I think the most important job that a director can do is casting. So much of your work can be done for you by simply casting the right person. And it's not always, as you guys know, it's not always the best actor, and it's not always the one you get along with the most. There's that conversation, there's communication, there's honesty, there's comfortability where we can tell each other exactly what's going on. But also I can trust that you're going to do the work. I can trust that you might have an idea. You might have an idea of how you want to approach this. I love that. But hey, can we think about this? So, and for instance, Tammy, she gave us so much space, and I'm not gonna dime anybody out, but I have worked on some projects, and they're some of my best opportunities that I've ever had, and one of them's, it's gonna come out. It's one of the greatest opportunities I've ever had, where it was the complete opposite. I did that work. I put in the time. And it was, from the first beat, I felt like my legs were cut out from under me. And that is tough. Again, though, if I'm being brutally honest, I'm sure that there's some learning to be done there. There's some humbling to be done there. But really and truly, at the end of the day, we are artists. And I know you guys, but I want to come to a project and know, okay, this person's in charge. They know what they want. They know what their vision is for this. And there might be something that I've prepared or that I've come with that's not part of their vision. And so I want to be, I want to be like clay. I want to be able to be molded. But I also want to come in and I want there to be I want to know that I am respected. Like I was cast. You have chosen me. You have gone with me. And so I think it's just so important that there's respect, communication. I think the more communication, a lot of times the better. I think sometimes it can be over-communicated. Things can be over-communicated, over-talked, over-rehearsed. But I love when there's space. I think it's important to give each other space. And then I also think, rehearsal is so, man, gosh, I just cannot. Joey and I were on a project the other day, and it was so much fun. But man, Joey,
is that your takeaway from the project that we did?
No, I love, man, Joey said, hey, we're talking, we're doing this. And it's so, man, if you love filmmaking, you love being there. You love that. Right. It's so fun, right? We're kids in the playground, baby. Let's play. But hang on, let's rehearse. Let's walk through this. Let's talk through this. And one of my things, I shout out to Dallas Jenkins. I think he is just a consummate director, man. He's super duper smart. He's also a writer, but I love the way that he approaches rehearsal. You know, let's rehearse this. He gives them space to kind of do it. And if they immediately ask for parameters, if they immediately ask for rules, right, in this world, like, okay, am I allowed to use the oven, right? Then we set those parameters, but then, you know, and he always says, oh gosh, here we play, right? And I love that. Here is where we're playing, baby. Let's play. Let's find the truth, but let's play finding that truth, right? And let's rehearse it. He gives them all space, and then he gives his direction. He talks through, maybe adds some more guidelines or rules, and then rehearses again. Make sure everybody's good. Joey, DP, whoever, are you good? Everybody good? Actors good? Okay. Crew has a set. Such a rhythm, it's clear, baby. You know, it's clear who the captain is. It's clear where the ship is. It's clear what we need to do on this ship to make it ready to sail. And then y'all go get ready. Y'all go take this. You've already come in with the actors. You've already come in with your work now. And then you have a chance to already see where you're going to play. Now you have time to go and visualize that world. The director's just giving you his vision. And then you've got time. And sometimes it's an hour. Sometimes if there's multiple actors, you've got a lot of people to get ready. It might be 2. And that's just, man, I've learned so much when I direct, when I get that chance. And I pray that I get that chance. I don't want to say soon because that's a funny word in God's world. But I pray that I do get that chance. I've gotten to watch people like him. I've gotten to watch other people do it really. I love the way that y'all direct a set, produce a set. I love it. Cinema Store, man, you guys got a good thing going. And I think that's why y'all have been blessed, because y'all have that atmosphere and that attitude. And then I've seen people do it in a way that I didn't like, and it didn't work. That's not to say that everything that I liked worked and everything that I didn't like didn't work. That's not the truth at all. There's been some stuff that that wasn't really my jam, and it worked. And they had it all figured out. Big shows, I've gotten to be small co-stars on some really big shows, and I get to see, like, they've already got this figured out. They ain't worried about me, right? But yeah, so that's just a blessing. And I just think giving that space, having a control and a rhythm to this is how this is going to go, and then that communication, hey, was everything okay there? Or do you want to talk through some stuff? Rehearsal, and respecting everyone, respecting the director has done their work and they understand their vision, respecting that the actors have done their work and they're prepared, and then respecting that we're going to respect each other, expecting that we're going to respect each other. There's an expectation there. And when that's happening, man, that thing is humming, you know? And then when things happen in TV and film, weather, lightning, delays, cars got to be moved, all that stuff happens. You have such a momentum that, yeah, it's gonna affect it, but it's not going to derail you. You know, when you have that momentum, when you have that attitude and that energy, when that stuff happens, it stinks. But man, the momentum is not as affected as, okay, let's go. Come on, guys, we got to go. And then this thing happens. Oh, this all happens. And then there's just heart, just pouring poison in the heart, and everybody, and it's just affected. And we've all been on those sets where, man, yeah, we might have finished the project, we wrapped, and it got edited and it got released. But we all know when we, created on that project, that production, just have a bad taste in your mouth. Even if it gets a good reception, it's like, oh, people, that was good. You're like, oh, thank you. Rather than, oh man, thank you. It was a joy. I learned, I grew, I don't know if that makes sense.
Process is everything, man. So it's how it's how you get there and know what it is.
I love the "Here We Play."
I think I'm going to steal some of the Dallas Jenkins words.
It's so good.
Yeah,
so good.
Steal from the good ones, man.
Man, you brought up the last project that we got to do together, and man, there were some curve balls on that project, which was fun. But man, one of the things that I feel like on the smaller, like indie budget films, oftentimes I have felt myself as a DP have to assume certain pieces of director responsibilities, to where it's like, maybe it's not my job, but I feel like, the project, the notes that I can give will help quickly get us to where we need to go. But one of the things that I've found and have been challenged really on just the side of me that likes directing as well, are there things that you feel like from a director communication standpoint can really throw you out of being in character? Because I feel like there's such a fine line to walk with giving notes, especially when we've fallen behind and whatnot, and you start prioritizing all of the logistics of the shoot, and the character's performance goes to the wayside. And the last shoot that we did was such a big reminder of like, man, professional actors are professional actors because they can quickly assume being into character even after getting chewed out by, someone, or when everything is crumbling around them or we're behind, and like the character's performance can fall short to just making the day oftentimes. And I feel like there's so much coming at you guys constantly. Like the lights, the camera, the sound, all the logistics of the day. And then it's like, it almost feels like the character's performance can be like the last thing considered, when it is like all that matters, like when you're doing a narrative project. And I'm just wondering, like, is there anything a director can make sure that they do or don't do to kind of prioritize keeping you guys in your performance as a priority to the film?
I think a big piece, this happened recently, where all of a sudden a conversation between, whether it's DP, director and anybody, where it's not simply taken 10 feet, 20 feet away, made quiet. It's a conversation that absolutely should be had between that person and whoever they're talking to, and no one else. And it happens. And sometimes it's nobody's necessarily their fault, but we just forget. Or in many, many cases, newcomers, relatively new to the deal, don't know. And, hey, so-and-so, can we make sure to, is it okay? Is everybody okay with lunch going to be 2 hours later than usual? Is everybody okay with that? And you're thinking, first of all, I want to knock this out. I'm in this moment. Second of all, 2 hours till we eat? I'm starving right now.
Yeah.
Those are things. And man, and that's the beauty. The beauty is to be on some of those large sets and then to go play on these smaller independent. The pressure is not nearly as high, and the playfulness and the creativity and really wanting to work to find that truth is so much more prime. But then there's those other things that happen, like, wait, there's nobody to do that job because we don't have that person.
Yeah.
So I think so much of it is creating an environment where the story is key, where the character, in that beat, like that is key. Hey, let's actually remove all these other variables and let's make sure that we can find that. That's the most important thing. And then if we do that and we find that and this light's not right, or, oh my gosh, to make a note about something or to say that take was worthless because of a caller. It's like, man, no, it's not. No, it's not. No, that was really, really important. And the story was told. And if we do our job well, and if the actors are doing their job well, and the vision was conveyed and they nail it, the audience is not going to be thinking about that caller. The audience is going to be thinking, they're going to be with the actors there. You know what I'm talking about? When you just get lost and you're watching a performance, the last thing in the world you're thinking about is that background actor actually was supposed to cross the table and went to the table, picked up the receipt and left. Nobody noticed that. You know what I mean? And so then when it's a cut and then it's the background actor didn't do the so-and-so, and you as the actor who just nailed it and found the center of the story is thinking, this is not important. If this is not important, then what am I even doing here? I'm going to mail in the next 2.5 hours, because obviously what's more important is, lunch and the background actor and this thing and that thing. And if everything is there and everybody's dialed in, and then that stuff's going to be at the forefront. That stuff is going to be important. But yeah, I think knowing, and when the more sets you're on, and the more you start to recognize, oh my gosh, standing in someone's eye line, like that's another thing that happened. That happens. I have seen, the best project that I've been on, where an actor, and I won't name names, I won't name the project out of respect for everybody, but literally the actor said, "Hey, would you mind?" to the director, "Would you mind like setting up over here?" The director had set up right in his eye line, right where he's trying to see the expanse, nothingness. He doesn't want to see his director. He doesn't want to see scripty. He doesn't want to see anyone, So just creating that space where the actors can be in the world and not have to think about really anything else, because we are going to hear, "Hey, can y'all move those lights? Hey, can y'all refill the tea? The tea's not filled. Hey, make sure when you do that, if you're going to touch that with your right hand, make sure you put it back down with your right hand, because we already have that other take we did with the right." There's already so many things that have to be considered. So making sure that we control the environment. So anything else that has to do, yes, with production and making sure everybody's taken care of, but don't let it get into that bubble, that space, that world that we've already created with the rehearsal, with, the camera rehearsal, with all that stuff where we can work out all those kinks and the actors can work out all that nonsense. And then boom, when it's game time, for that master and the coverage and going into all that, let's make sure that we get it, because like you said, Joey, that is, the writer wrote the thing, and then let's see the thing that they wrote. And that's the most important thing. Let's get that. Let's capture that. All that other stuff, man, nobody's going to watch. Nobody's going to think about that, except unless you're on it. Nobody's going to think about that other stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the big things that I feel like I've been challenged with lately, just as a filmmaker and being a leader on sets that I attend, is giving characters the proper space to prioritize their performance over my technical ability to light something or do some creative whatever. It's like I'm trying to make it more of a priority to think of myself less and how people are going to perceive like my craft and stuff, and try to give characters the space to do what they do, because it will ultimately matter more than how the freaking highlight to shadow fall off is on the side of the character's face. It's like, anyway, it's just one of those things that I've been challenged with lately in my growth as a DP, or director or whatever. And so it's a great perspective to hear, and just how that synchronicity between both parties can work out. You mentioned your time on The Chosen, man. I want to dive into that for a second, bro. You've been working crew for that project, correct?
Yep. Yeah, it'll be 5 years this summer.
How has that experience working on one of the largest crowdfunded films in history, and being behind the camera, impacted you and your journey and how you act, and just you as a filmmaker as well?
Man, getting to watch the way that the actors prepare, and then seeing that translate to the set, and then seeing that translate to the screen. What translated, what didn't, that's huge, obviously, as an actor. And then as I've mentioned, inherently, the filmmakers, the keys, the DP, the director, how that they've operated, and then how that translates to the overall rhythm, to the overall success of the production, and then whether or not it was received by the audience. And it has been, I don't know if it's exceeded, and now that it's gotten bigger and the pressure's mounted and the production value and the budget's heightened. I don't know exactly, I'm interested to see how everyone really thinks how season 4 has done compared to what the expectations were. But man, it's just, you see how it gives you an opportunity to see how small you are, even as an actor, even as the lead. There's so many things going on, locations, things that are completely out of our control, things that are in our control, egos, contracts. Man, it's overwhelming, And it's just so humbling. And it's also humbling to, to clean bathrooms, to serve people snacks and drinks and taking drinks to set, when, sometimes our desire is to be directing or starring in something. And you're constantly serving. It's really great as a believer, it's really great as a father. It's really great as just a human. I think that every high school student in America should have to go bus tables before they can graduate high school. I think everyone should have to be in a position where they're dealing with the yuck and the muck, and they're having to refill glasses of water before they can be a bartender, before they can be a director and actor. I have learned a lot as an actor, but I've learned more than any other singular project as a filmmaker because of getting to watch everyone. I mean, from my first experience in the summer was episodes 5 through 8. I was first team runner. I was if you want to call base camp PA, but I was on that, where we were at that stage. It was so much of a smaller show. I was the one who received the actors, and then if there were some that stayed behind set, I stayed with them, and then I would send some, or if it was all of them, I would go with them and make sure they were taken care of on set. All the way from that to being a set PA, to helping with locations and assistant locations manager, to when we had COVID, I was doing 7 different things. I was helping with COVID and check-in. I was doing locations. We had transpo drivers go down. I was helping with transpo. I did special effects 2 nights. I did not have the focus for that. I can never imagine being special effects or an AC where you're constantly having to be dialed into the candles or the focus. Whew, I don't have the focus for focus. Focus. But man, it is, you have an opportunity to see how small you are, and you also have an opportunity to see how everyone plays a part. From the guy who's, picking up trash from the night before, and I've been that, hundreds of days, as a PA or locations, making sure the set is clean at the end of the day, so that when we get in the next day, the set's clean, right? It's a clean working environment. All the way to the art department and carpenters, making sure that's framed in so it's safe. So the next day, art can do some last minute painting to where props can come in and the scene design can do their job. To where Alan is our oh goodness, he's on the day he's making sure that everything artistically is ready. He's bringing in hundreds and hundreds of candles. To the PAs can do their, everybody playing their part, and the whole orchestra is doing the thing. It's just been it's been a blessing, and I've gotten to work on some other sets. I haven't done nearly as much, obviously. I location manage a feature out in Missouri, but it is crazy when you get a chance to see it from this perspective and kind of see everything happening. Whereas when you're an actor or you're the DP, you're right up in there. And you're only, everything that you can touch and see is right here is what's really going on. And a lot of it's the most important stuff on the day when we're shooting. But there's so much that goes into making sure that everything's ready to shoot, that you get a chance to see it when you're on those outskirts, when you're in those other positions. And I don't know how much it's helped me as an actor in the craft of acting, but I think it's helped me being an actor who is cognizant of the actual filmmaking that's going on, and having the attitude towards those people when you're on set. When you have a set where actors are respectful and know kind of what's going on, or they've done those things, man, I think everybody really has an appreciation for that when that's the case. And that's why I think a lot of film schools and stuff, it's like, man, you need to go do this for a little. You need to go be a PA. You need to go help with the wardrobe for a week, to see what their world is like.
So good.
Willie, man, that's all super good. And man, it's great to I always tell everyone, like, when all of the different roles and you've done them, it will make you better in your role because you know how to operate in more harmony with the entire team. Just like anyone who wants to be a better shooter, I always tell them to edit, because you know how to shoot with the edit in mind. And so it's very similar in that regard, where it's like, if you want to be a great actor and you want your team to love you, knowing what your team does will make everybody work together in more harmony. And so I love that, man. Dude, this has been a blast. I got 3 more questions I got to ask. We ask all of our guests, and I want to jump into it. If you could go back in time in your career, what is one thing that you would do differently if you could do it all over again?
Whew, should have got prepped on this one. I think if I was going to do one thing differently, I think I would have set some boundaries and some parameters with my family and with my creator of, okay, where do you want me? You know, and a lot of times, like, where he wants you is right. If there's dishes to be done, he wants you doing the dishes, right? But I think there were some times where I did this thing because it was there and it was an opportunity, rather than thinking, you know, is this really where, you know, I need to be? And as an actor, I think there's times where I, you know, maybe took that one job, whether it was a crew job or took this other acting job because it was an opportunity, it was money right then, rather than focusing on the big picture. And I'm actually literally preaching to myself right now. But yeah, just knowing what your purpose is. And then once you have that, journaling, like, okay, what does that need to look like? You know, does this thing fit in that? Okay, it does. Okay, great. This thing doesn't. And if it doesn't, then using that perspective and that framework going forward to be able to give yourself an opportunity to make some momentum, to build some momentum. Because sometimes we do this thing and then all of a sudden, and then it can take us on a completely different path, you know? And sometimes it doesn't, but even if it doesn't take us on a completely different path, that was 3 weeks. That was so many hours where we could have been focusing and learning and growing on what was supposed to be part of that purpose that was in that box. So I think there were some times where I didn't do that. And if I could have changed one thing, it's defining my purpose and what fits within that world so that I can drive forward with that and not, you know, so then whenever something does happen, I can know, oh, that's why I'm bouncing around here, is because I didn't stay right in there. You know, I didn't have some clear defined goals.
That's awesome, man. I hang out with a couple of guys, and they're clients of ours, and their whole mission is bringing purpose to as many people as they can in life, and they wrote a book on it and they teach on it. Shout out to Brian and Gabby Boucher. But they're awesome, man, and they define purpose as using the best of what you have for other people. And basically, like, when you take the best, like the gifts that you've naturally been given or have worked to, you know, to that you feel like is what you're gifted in, and you use it for other people, you find your purpose that you should be pursuing. And when you have your purpose, your yes can be bigger than your no. And what I mean by that is, like, when you have such a clear purpose, you have a clear yes for what you should do and what you should not do. And when you've identified that purpose, whether it's artistic purpose or not artistic purpose, but just your purpose, you know, in your life, you can have a yes that is louder than the things that, you know, are tempting to run into. And so anyway, it's just been something cool that I've taken away from that, and I'm still actively trying to apply it to my own career and life as well, man. So that's good on you. What is one piece of advice? Normally we ask this to filmmakers, but I'm going to tie it into actors this time. What is one piece of advice that you can give to actors trying to grow in their craft or their business?
Be vulnerable, you know, remain teachable. If you've never done Shakespeare, you know, carve out a month, a week. If you can't carve out a month, carve out a week where you're going to focus on a monologue, a Shakespearean monologue, and attack it, share it with someone, film it. If you've never done improv, be vulnerable, jump out there and do it. Oh, I don't like improv. Well, the majority of callbacks I've had called for some kind of improv, whether it was adding on the button of a scene, improv it, or, hey, let's just take this scene, forget about the words that I wrote in the scene. Can you improv? I did one of my biggest auditions of my career was a few months ago, and it was complete improv. Never done that. Created a character, created this idea of the scene, and do it. Keep it a minute or so. So improv, Shakespeare, do something you haven't done. Filmmakers, like you got Shane, man, never, not so much as comfortable being in front of the camera. Get in front of the camera, and then meditate on why did I not like it? Because I wasn't confident, or because I don't think I should be in front of whatever it is, and then just keep a pulse on it, and then maybe you're not supposed to be in front of the camera all the time, but just be vulnerable and trying new things. That sounds so cliche, but in December I had an opportunity to go manage a tour for a band on a Christmas tour. Never done anything like it. There wasn't anybody else knocking down my door offering me X amount of dollars, which this thing was. There was definitely some discomfort, but if I ever have to play a tour manager and a show and a movie, I got so much to draw from. I was humbled so many times on that. I was encouraged so many times on that. There was a tight knit discipleship opportunity, like day to day, all the time. There's so much, and so if I had said no to that, man, how much did I miss out on? So just being vulnerable and trying new things and saying yes when you feel that, and spending time in prayer about your career, whatever it is. You say, oh, I don't believe. Well, spending quiet time in meditation, spending quiet time in yoga. I don't care what your deal is, spending quiet, because whenever there's so many voices, there's so much noise going on. If we don't ever get quiet, we can never hear that still small voice. We can never hear that spirit of the universe, or, spirit of Jesus Christ saying, this is what I have for you, step into this, step into this. And if we don't get quiet, we can't do that.
It's good.
It's good. This question is also, it says filmmaker, but I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it up here too. Who is one director and actor who has inspired you or your work?
The first thing that comes to mind is John Krasinski. But man, so much as an actor. And I am been wanting to see Quiet Place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So much. I've wanted to see it. There's a couple of opportunities, and both times ended up being a family thing. So we watched movies with the kids instead. But his path, man, he just worked. And John Krasinski is the first thing that came to mind. Gosh, yeah. I know there's a couple others. That there's somebody, oh my gosh, Jason Bateman, Ozarks, and
oh man, so good,
dude. I mean, just incredible actor, but incredible filmmaker. And I'm sure y'all have listened to Smartless. I mean, it's There's so much to his personal life. I think he's a sober dude. He found his own path with sobriety and recovery too, and then directing, and then knowing his purpose. And I mean, I think he was brought Ozarks and said, I'll do this if I can direct it. And now look at it, look at that, the success that shows. So, but that's another one. But yeah, Krasinski too, man, super smart dudes. And those are a couple of them.
Love it, man. Well, Willie, we got hella love for you over here, bro. It's been a blast to make and create work and art together. I look forward to working on many more projects to come, including some cough, cough, wink, wink, some features that we got lined up down the road this year. So looking forward to working on multiple projects with you, man. We appreciate you coming to the studio with us today, man. For people that want to get connected with you, man, what's the best way?
Goodness, I'm not 100% consistent, but Instagram's a good one. I will get on there. I'll take breaks from that, but that's a good one. And I believe you can still find my email on IMDb Pro. If any actors out there are not on IMDb Pro, that's a good one. I think you can get lost in the weeds, just like social media, but having a moderation, having some walls, parameters set on that stuff. But yeah, hit me up on Instagram. And man, I appreciate you guys so much. It's the highlight of my week.
Love it, man. Well, we appreciate you coming by the studio. Again, man. Really looking forward to making more projects with you this year. I always enjoy creating with you, bro, so I'm looking forward to seeing you more in person, face to face. And for those still listening, man, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time on the Rough Cut Club.